Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Chelsea Vaughn reveals when she knew Matt James was going to pick Rachel Kirkconnell.
Like, they are still together.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that might have been the closest thing I've seen to love at first sight.
It's
like,
true.
There was clearly something.
Plus Susie Evans on whether or not she will hit the beach on Bachelor in Paradise.
And I think I used to be like, oh my gosh, like so many Paradise couples make it. Like it's a great way because you're getting like a ton of different options. You can feel things out. Like that's great. But then watching it back this season, having been on the show, I was like, this is actually my nightmare.
Plus Gabby talks Vinnie, Johnny talks Victoria, and filming has wrapped on The Bachelor. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garbaldi here with Us Weekly Deputy Editor Sarah Heron. And Sarah, welcome to another big week of Bachelor news. We caught up with some of your faves at the People's Choice Awards, some reactions to engagements, some breakups. Got a lot to get to.
You know, The Bachelor, they show up at the People's Choice Awards. They show up on podcasts. They're everywhere as always.
Everywhere as always. But before we get into the news, let's see what you guys had to say about last week's show. Lisa says, thanks for the updates, guys. Didn't know that about Kendall. Very happy for her. Funny she's moving to Germany when Chicago was too far for her to be with Joe. Never been a fan of Victoria. I seriously doubt she and Greg will last. So disappointed Susie and Clayton will not be getting back together. Was really rooting for them. I hope they both find happiness eventually. I mean, I feel like these are a lot of the sentiments that we've had as well.
I'm going to co-sign everything Lisa said.
Definitely.
And Laura said, you really got to vet people before you fall in love with them. Golden words from Susie right there. I think this is why The Bachelor/Bachelorette has such a high fail rate, that people can't do this. Very true. You date someone in a simulation type world, all's good, and then you get into the real world and you realize you actually don't agree on like anything important. So checks out.
Yeah, I mean, the real world is not day trips to Paris and like these over the top dates. It's, real life, and sometimes things just don't add up. Well, speaking of that, let's get into our news of the week. And we know Gabby and Eric didn't line up their values, but she revealed if she was open to the possibility of dating Jersey Shore star Vinnie. She told us recently that she would, and she kind of echoed those statements, saying, "We just met on Dancing with the Stars and kind of formed a friendship. So it's just playful banter for right now, but we'll see." I feel like they're just playing us at this point.
I know. The fact that like they did all the Instagrams and now they're still doing it. It's like, all right, we get it. But also like people are going to keep asking her about it. I did like her line, Gabby tan laundry, that I believe she said to E at the People's Choice Awards. I thought that was very cute and clever. I doubt it, but I would love for them to keep this facade going for a bit. Maybe she should go on an episode of Jersey Shore Family Vacation.
Would love to see it. Love a good crossover.
Yeah, why the hell not? We also caught up with Johnny at the People's Choice Awards, and he opened up about getting back on the dating scene after his split from Victoria. He said, hell yeah, I'm ready to date again. We'll see. I'm working on me. So hell yeah, he's ready to date, but also he can still work on himself. You love a king who can do both, question mark. It's like he almost forgot. He was like, I'm ready. He goes, but I'm still working on it. Like he's like, that's my line. I forgot. Just kidding. He added that the fallout from the relationship, it's been humbling for him to kind of see the response. He said, it's taught me a lot to not to listen to the outside noise, just focus on you and better yourself and things like that. Honestly, I've grown as a person from it and I'm doing 1,000,000 times better. He did not listen to Victoria and Greg on Vile Files. But he did say that the breakup being so public now and after all this, question mark and speculation has helped him. I feel like it's part of the grieving process. It's kind of getting everything in the open. And now you can kind of make that step forward. I feel good about everything. I'm in a good place and I'm getting over it.
Glad to see that he is in a better place and, doing well. And I don't blame him for not listening to the podcast. I can't imagine that would be a fun listen.
I feel like, I don't think he listened, but like, don't tell me you didn't read that Us Weekly Revelations or whatever blog, like copy and pasted stuff or the screenshots on Instagram or maybe a clip or two. I would listen.
I'm sure he saw the highlights, like you said. Yeah, I'm sure like he wasn't totally oblivious to what was going on. But I mean, it's good to see him out. Like you said, it's like, are you ready to date or are you still like working through your feelings about all this? But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, he did say if he's not single, if he's in a relationship, if he is single next summer, that maybe we'll see him in Paradise.
I have a feeling we're going to see him in Paradise. I think we're going to see him again. And I think some of his boys who he's, out here hanging out with will be by his side. I also think I always say this, like, good for you taking the high road, bad for me, bad for usmagazine.com. I like shade. But besides like a few lines here and there, like where he joked about the timeline not adding up in his head, or like can't do math on the beach, like he kind of whatever. He, for the most part, is taking the high road. He could have probably picked apart things said in that interview, and he didn't. So, that's the healthier way to do it.
Yes, definitely. Well, speaking of Paradise, there's another breakup that has recently happened. Can't say saw this one coming. Jill and Jacob split just 1 week after going public. She said on the Clickbait podcast, the relationship failure to launch, some may say. Unfortunately, it did make it to the hard launch phase, but swiftly after that, it ended. I had no other choice. I literally had no other choice. Well, something bad happened then. She added, I had to do what was best for myself. And there's just a line and like standards that you have for yourself that you just can't allow people to cross. I don't have any ill will. I don't wish bad things. She said that things fizzled shortly after they had that grand gesture at the reunion. She said, I never wanted to make it public, to be honest, because I just wanted to keep everything private. But, the gesture happened at the reunion. We were like, all right, we're going to go forth and conquer. We had planned a trip to Rhode Island, but then everything fell through. Long distance communication, a bunch of other things, but no more Jill and Jacob.
Honestly, a little sad. I know it's ridiculous. I really kind of thought maybe they were just quirky and weird enough to work.
Right.
But it does kind of sound like, to me, my in between the lines of this was they long distance dated for like 3 weeks and she already felt like there was some red flags. So good for her, because not worth it if like you can't make it 3 weeks without like sketchiness happening. But did you see his lengthy post on Instagram? Because it's really worth a read if you didn't.
I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw somebody, I don't even remember who posted it, but somebody said it read like an obituary.
It does. It's like black and white photos and just like some of the highlights. You were the right person at the wrong time. You gave 100%. I gave 80. You pushed to look for quality work, change my schedule, and pushed me to look for quality work, change my schedule, focus on my family instead of hollow relationships. You asked me for better communication while I was lacking. You showed up when I didn't. Trust was lost. Goes into talking about distance. We had talked about the reunion, yada, yada. But it isn't about the big moments. It's about the little things. I wasn't there to give you my whole heart because of insecurities. I have a lot of refinement to do before I can mentally and spiritually be there. You deserve to be loved right now. I deserve to be alone. Jill, good luck on your journey, Angel.
Oh my God, I can't. I can't.
Like, honestly, quite heartfelt and sweet, but just not necessary. And like, where was this energy for the relationship?
Right. And it was only 3 weeks.
So good luck, Angel. That's the part where I was like, oh, well, she's still
good luck on your journey, Angel. Spread those wings and fly.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if those two ended back up on the beach either.
Oh, 100%. And I would be entertained.
Yeah. Well, also on the Clickbait podcast, Joe, who's obviously one of the hosts over there, he had to cover his ex-girlfriend Kendall's engagement.
So awkward.
To Mitchell, kind of very casually was just like, oh, like, Kendall Long? We dated. Some people might know that. She's engaged. He said, most people know we dated for a little bit. I'm very happy for her. She seems like she's happy. It seems like they're each other's person. So yeah, good for her.
I think I messaged you right after I heard this. I'm like, this was the most awkward thing I have ever heard. I'm like, we know you dated. Like you're giving this weird intro to her. Like we've never heard about her before. And you're like, we dated for a little bit. No, you dated for years. Like,
right.
It's
like, I know you're married. Totally respect it. Don't expect you to like have some big reaction to this. Mm-hmm. But you're on this podcast. They wrote the script for you to read the news and chose you to read it, I guess, for whatever reason. And I don't think Joe can help it. Like he just made it weirder by trying to be casual about it, I think.
Totally.
But it gave me like that energy. I keep screaming about this, that like on Winter House, not to jump shows, but like they keep showing us the flashbacks of Lindsay and Sierra and Austin, everything that happened on Summer House. And it's like, no one watches Winter House casually. Like we know what happened. Yeah. No one listens to Clickbait without knowing the ins and outs and history of Bachelor Nation. Like we don't need the disclaimer. Like we were there for all of it. So funny, but also just like, ridiculous.
So ridiculous. It really is. Well, happy everybody moved on. And, but keep giving us these awkward moments. We enjoy it. Well, Zach Shallcross is back home after the filming of The Bachelor has wrapped up. He wrote on Instagram on November 30th, this has been an unreal 2022, a complete roller coaster from start to finish. This year has taught me more than I could have ever imagined, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Can't wait for y'all to see how this journey to true forever love unfolds. I keep forgetting that it's happening.
True forever love. That's a big promise, Zachary. But this is the time when they get home, right around Thanksgiving. They're still on a high. Usually around Christmas is when we start to see the cracks in the foundation. And we do know that this season is airing a little later, not till January 23rd. So more time for potential chaos.
Yes, we love chaos.
I'm meeting Zach for the first time on Friday. Ooh. We're not doing interviews yet, but they're like having like a meet Zach PR thing. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, well, that's fun. I feel like they haven't really done that before, like pushing the new Bachelor and getting to know him. So that'll be a good time.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of pressure for Zach.
Seriously. All right, well, let's get into our Bachelor Nation talk. And I know that you recently caught up with Chelsea from Matt James's season.
Yes, I have not talked to a girl from Matt James' season in a minute, and we got into some fun stuff. It's a long conversation that'll be on the podcast this week if you want to hear all about what Chelsea's up to. But of course, we had to pull a clip a little bit about Matt and Rachel and what it was like to film that season a couple years ago. So here's Chelsea.
I like to ask people this when they come from a season that has a couple that's still together. Because sometimes you hear people are like, oh, I knew it right away. Other people were like, I was so focused on myself. Like, I thought it was going to be me. Or just like, I almost forgot about hanging out with the girls. Like, didn't matter. For you, did you know it was going to be Rachel for Matt? And when did you figure that out, if you did know?
There was a moment on the very first group date where it kind of hit, like I saw them interact. And in my mind, I was like, oh, he really likes her. So that was the first date. Like, that was the very first group date. And I was like, because I personally really don't think that guys are very good at hiding how they feel about women.
They aren't. And bachelors definitely aren't. It's usually pretty obvious. That's why the editing comes in.
And so I was like, okay, like, I didn't think like, oh, he doesn't like me. But I was just like, you could tell he really was drawn to Rachel. So towards the end, it got a little like dicier, because then I was like, wow, it seems like he really likes Brie, like it seems like he really likes Michelle. But yeah, in the very beginning, and Rachel at our very first rose ceremony, Matt like came in and gave his whole like, hey, I'm the Bachelor speech, and he made us all like say a prayer, and Rachel actually like ended up crying at the end of this prayer. She's like, she's like, this really touched me. And in my mind, like, first of all, I didn't know her at the time.
Right.
And I'm also not religious personally. Yeah. So at first I was like, wow, this girl's like being...
You're like, what is this?
Yeah, I was like, I just thought it was like a lot. Like, I was just like, whoa. But now they're still together. Yeah. It's like, wow, that might have been the closest thing I've seen to love at first sight.
It's
like,
true.
There was clearly something between them. But yeah, it is wild that they're still together, because so many, I guess, Bachelor and Bachelorette couples are not together.
I listened to Rachel on Brie's podcast recently, and I don't know if you heard or anything about that, but she kind of spoke about feeling like the show really wanted him to end up with a Black woman, because that would be like kind of, the perfect ending to this whole thing, and how much pressure then like she knew he felt, but then Matt had to put his foot down and be like, well, I'm picking Rachel, so like figure it out, like this is what's happening. And even like she joked, she was like, I felt like they were taking down the set, like this season was a fail, and like no one even watched it yet, let alone what all was to come, like no one even knew. But like, are you surprised by her feeling that way? Like, did you feel like maybe they were kind of like trying to push that on him or anything like that, or just like it was kind of in the back of their minds? I just thought that was interesting that she said that, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I might have been like a little bit more oblivious to that, just because I am Black. Yeah. So if I was white, I might have felt like, oh, it seems like they don't want me to end up with him. I don't know. But like, I was the last, well, yeah. I mean, not that I don't consider, I guess it's different. I think I was the last monoracial Black girl that was there. Okay. Everyone else was mixed after me. But I do think, I don't think Rachel's wrong in that. I do think in their ideal world, he would have picked a Black woman in the end. Yeah. Like Brie or Michelle or whatever. Like, but I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there for those conversations, and I don't know what they said to Rachel to make her feel like that. But yeah, I know there was like some pushback, and he's like, all right, well, I fell in love with Rachel. So
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Good for him, because good for him. They're still together, like we said.
Yeah. I mean, she knew. I mean, after that prayer, love at first sight.
I mean, right when she said that, I was like, oh, I'm back there. I'm at Nemacolin. I'm seeing Rachel cry. I'm rolling my eyes, but that's love. You know what I mean?
Love. And we also have a little bit more from your interview with Susie, right?
Yes, here is Susie on Bachelor in Paradise. A very refreshing take, in my opinion, from Susie on VIP.
You think you're in this great, relationship.
Paradise.
Yeah, paradise. And then they bring down somebody who's like beautiful, funny, like smart, and all this stuff. And it's like, what? And like that literally sounds like a nightmare to me. So I don't know that I would I have a lot of great coping mechanisms. I have a lot of confidence, but I don't know that I would willingly sign up for that.
Right. It's a little bit like setting yourself up to really test all of those things, all those skills you've built. It's like, how far can I push them to see if they're really working? And then let everyone watch and tell me whether I did it right. It takes us, I mean, we can say what you want about any of these people, but like, it's a hard thing to sign up for. So you got to remember that, because my God, I just could never.
Literally. And I think I really think, and I've never been a judgy person in general. Like I think I'm pretty empathetic. So I'm like, you just never know what someone's going through. And that's always my mentality. But I would say before going on the show, when I would watch the show and when I would watch Paradise, I was a little bit more judgy than now. I will see the craziest stuff happen on the show. And I'm like, we don't know anything. Right. And I'm like, don't judge. I'm like,
they could have gone crazier.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, when my friends or my family like make comments about like seeing something, and I'm like, I have to like check them sometimes. I'm like, we don't know anything. Like literally that could have been so out of context. That could have been somebody was at their emotional breaking
no
point.
Sleep,
like,
drinks.
No sleep. Exactly. And like, you just never know what the truth of it is. So I think I've definitely, like, watching it back, I'm like, it's funny, but I have so much empathy watching these stories unfold. Like, you just don't know what people are going through out there.
A fine line. Like I said, we can poke fun, but then remember this, it's not that hard, people. It's really not that hard. It drives me crazy. Would you date within Bachelor Nation if someone like tried to set you up, or would you just like not even go there?
Somebody asked me that recently as well. I think that I would really have to be interested in the person, and I would want to get to know them before ever like going out with them, even publicly. Like I would want to, I'd really want to vet that call, like I would really want to make sure that that's somebody that, like, if there was a picture taken or something like that, not that it really matters. Like I kind of don't care about stuff like that. But if I were like wanting to pursue somebody like in a public, it would be another public relationship ultimately, I would think, because it's two people that have been in a public setting. So I would just really have to make sure that I actually really, really like that person before I even like give a first date kind of chance. Just because I think it gets complicated when people want to like talk about it.
When there's Reddit threads about it.
So safe to say she's not going to be at the beach.
No, and I don't blame her for all the reasons she listed. She's like, I have the tools. Why test them? And I was like, You're right. Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah. It seems like she's moving on from Bachelor Nation. All right, let's check in on our social spotlight of the week. I love this selfie from Austin. Like you said, we love a good crossover. Winter House meets Bachelor and Southern Charm. So Austin took a selfie with Tayshia, and he captioned it, "We're in love. Stop asking." Like, as a joke, obviously they're not in love, but we love a good crossover moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, fan the flames, spark the speculation. They look kind of cute together.
They do. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I hope Tayshia knows better, but maybe she doesn't. That's fine too. My social, just to circle back, to come full circle here, a little PCA Instagram People's Choice Awards. Nick and Natalie were also at the People's Choice Awards, and they sat with Johnny. I'm sure, the people at E maybe are not keeping up with who was on Bio Files and who was not on Bio Files quite yet. But they did take a funny picture together because, Johnny, like we said, didn't listen, but he did, post a few things of like, timelines not adding up to me. And we know that Nick and Natalie are very good friends with Victoria and Greg. And that was kind of the disclaimer for that whole interview. So Nick posted this picture and Johnny commented, "Still not doing your podcast." Nick called him chicken shit. Natalie said, "I'm still team Victoria." Johnny said, "You would be." And then Nick said, "Update, Johnny's hot. The DMs are open." So everyone kind of, fueling it a little bit. I feel like, I'm sure this is jokes, but like a little bit of truth to all of it.
Definitely a little bit of truth to all of it. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll change his mind and do the podcast a little bit later down the road, but I don't know. I still feel like they're team Victoria and Greg.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Here for the Right Reasons. Like Sarah said, you can check out her full interview with Chelsea on the Here for the Right Reasons podcast. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.